Good evening, everyone. This is a public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for August 27th, 2012. Tonight we have 5 matters before us. I would ask everyone that's in attendance, if anyone plans on speaking either for or against a petition, that they please sign in at the podium before addressing the board. Thank you. Our first matter before us is under continuances. This is ZB 2012-31, and the petition's a variance. The applicant is Annabelle Foy. The property is located at 365 Pine Street. The petition is to construct a new single-car, 2-story attached garage within the required garage setback that also exceeds the maximum floor area ratio allowed in the TSF zoning district pursuant to Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. The board has received a communication from the petitioner. At this time, they would like to withdraw this petition. Are there any comments from members of the board? Hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, ZB 2012-31 at 365 Pine Street for a variance for a single-party garage. A motion to withdraw.
Have a second?
Second motion.
Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey?
Approve the withdrawal.
Mr. Belanger?
Withdraw.
Mr. Ahern?
Withdraw.
Mr. Perrin?
Withdraw.
Mr. McCarthy?
Withdraw.
Okay. That petition is withdrawn. Now moving into new business under ZB 2012-33. The petition is a variance. The applicant is Shang Ray M. Sray, property located at 30 Chippewa Street. Petition to install a new carport that does not meet rear, side, and distance from dwelling setbacks pursuant to Section 4.3.5 and Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Is Mr. Sray here, please? Could you address the board, please? Good evening. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Yep. Could you let us know who you are first, please?
I'm here to speak on Rod Chang's behalf.
Okay.
He's trying to get a carport installed.
Okay. Could you give us your name and address, please?
Mine? Severn Pumisavan.
Okay. And your address?
Address 30 Chippewa Street.
Oh, okay. You're at the same location?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Could you tell us, give us some history about the carport?
Well, the carport's been there for about 10 years, and we just demolished the old one and installed a new one. And we didn't have any problems with it until recently, so.
Okay. So there was a pre-existing carport there before that you took down and put up a new one? Is that?
Yes, there was.
Okay. Did you ever seek any permits from the city, or were you aware that you needed to seek a permit for a carport?
No, we were not aware of, we weren't aware of that requirement.
Okay. So you purchased it and constructed it yourself, or did somebody put it up for you?
We contracted someone to do that for us.
Okay. And they didn't seek any assistance from the city or investigated it? If they needed a permit to put it up?
I don't think so. I don't think they
Okay.
did.
And you said it's been up there for 10 years?
Yeah, it's about, yep.
The existing one has been there 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else you'd like to, let me ask you this. What purpose does the carport serve?
It just helps make snow removal a lot easier. He has a bad back, so it just, it just helps.
So it was built
It's just for convenience.
convenience?
So, yeah.
How many vehicles do you park in there?
2?
2, okay. How many vehicles in total are at that building?
Just 2.
Just 2 vehicles?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to add at this point?
Nope.
No. Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public. Thank you, sir. Anyone here that'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Before I open it up to the board, we did receive one communication from an abutter in the neighborhood. It's actually a two-page letter. I'm not going to go through and read the whole opposition, but they would like to file with us that they're in opposition as far as that structure goes. So I just want to let you know that. Okay? All right, we're going to open up to the board. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple questions for Joe, actually, regarding this. This structure, I've seen others like it in the city. It's certainly not the only one that exists. If you go online and research these kind of structures, they seem to come across as temporary structures rather than permanent structures. Is there any validity to whether or not it's perceived as a temporary structure? In which case, I think we have a procedure that we get a one-year kind of permit for those. Is that correct?
I'm not really sure where the building commissioner has come in terms of considering it temporary. As far as I've been able to tell, it's been considered permanent. We typically require a building permit for them to be installed, and consider it the same as a garage for zoning purposes, in terms of meeting setbacks. So that's why it's before you here tonight. So it would seem like he considers it to be more of a permanent installation as opposed to temporary.
It's curious where it has a history of, it's actually replacing structure at one. I think you mentioned that there was an existing structure that it's replacing. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you clarify that?
The new garage structure, if you will, is something that was put in place of one that was previously there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the one that was previously there, was that a similar structure with aluminum?
The old one had some type of canvas covering. The new one is more like sheet metal.
Okay. The canvas covering one, I think we've seen before us as defined as a temporary structure. Is that correct, Joe?
I'm not totally sure how it's been looked at the past, but I could look into it if you'd like.
I mean, it's too bad because it looks like a decent structure, but you seem to be stuck in a situation where we classify them now as permanent structures, so they need to meet. And I think that I'm getting a little annoyed by the fact that we're seeing a lot of these structures come to the Zoning Board of Appeals that are already built, and we're asked to grant variances for something that's already there. So it doesn't seem to make sense that people in the city don't know when they need to call the department up to find out whether what they're erecting is requires a permit, or requires a variance, or requires anything. People just, or contractors are just building these things, which is disappointing, especially. So I think that we definitely need to be aware of once something crosses the threshold to permanent structure, how we're affecting zoning. And I understand that you have a condition where your back is not conducive to shoveling snow, but I'm not sure that that qualifies as a hardship to erect a structure in a non-conforming condition with zoning. So I'm going to listen to my colleagues here, but I'm having difficulty supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I guess I echo a lot of Dennis's thoughts on this. It's how big was the existing carport? Same footprint?
The new one's actually, I think, smaller. Right? Yeah, smaller. It's a little smaller.
I mean, it's basically a two-car garage with, I guess a metal structure instead of typical construction. But my concern is it's literally a half a foot from the boundary line. It's really jamming in a structure that is already in a tight neighborhood, so emergency apparatus trying to get behind the building if there was ever a fire or things of that nature is obviously a big concern, because they would have no access to the rear of the building. So I agree with Dennis. It's tough to tell somebody that it doesn't work, especially once it's already in place, and costs and things like that, which I realize. But I just don't see how this would meet a variance approval based on the situation. So those are my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, just to the petition to clarify, you said this current structure is approximately 10 years old?
The new one, there was
The-
one there for 10 years, yes.
And this one's approximately how old?
This one's only maybe a year old. A year, right?
No, this is the new one?
Yeah.
No, about how long?
It's been there for a couple months.
Couple months? And was this a kit carport, or is this a structure that was assembled by a contractor, or was it one of these carport kit contractors that seem to be doing business within the city without proper permits?
Kit, looks like a kit, right? You see it? It looked like it was a kit carport that was built by some contractors. And it didn't look like anything custom built, if that's.
But the kit was provided by the contractor that was hired by the petitioner?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
I guess to clarify my question is, the kit wasn't purchased by the
No, it wasn't
petitioner?
purchased before it was,
It was purchased through the contractor as a kit for a complete install?
right.
Okay.
I don't think they had to, fabricate anything custom to do it.
Do you know if they're a local company by chance?
I have their information right here. Not sure if it's TNT Carports Incorporated. Looks like they're based in North Carolina. Oh, actually, yeah, it looks like they're based in North Carolina.
And the company being based out of North Carolina, is there a subcontractor that was subbed out to perform this construction of this carport?
I'm not sure. I wasn't present when the carport was erected, so.
Okay. My main concern is that, again, that the carport is up, the encroachment on the boundary line is extremely tight, and one of my frustrations with the carports is that we have carport kit companies coming to the city of Lowell and not providing the consumer with the proper information that you're required to have a building permit, and then you come before us, so to speak, after the horse is out of the barn, and now both you and the board are in a precarious situation to try to look or make relief of this type of variance. And I know the city engineers department and the inspectional services are out there doing yeoman's work trying to keep up with these things. But I just wanted to be placed on the record that moving forward in the future, I think that we need to take a real look at some of these out-of-state companies that are hiring perhaps local contractors or subcontractors to try to not only help out the consumer, the resident of the city, but more importantly, comply with the variance of the code for the city of Lowell. So that happens to be my concern as it relates to that. As it relates to the structure, if we had building permit in place, we would know that the structure is structurally sound, wouldn't impede on anybody's health and well-being with weight bearing during snow, and certainly to the homeowner, his safety is a concern of ours as well. And if there ever was a need for emergency services, police, fire, EMS to have to go to the home, that would be a concern of mine as well. So I guess I'll have to just review this document and make a decision at the turn. Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you, Gary. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I share the same concerns as my colleagues. I think this board, for the most part, is very, very cooperative, and we're here to help families, such as the petition that's here in front of us. But, I think something that bears mentioning, and, in the last 60 days, We've seen, foundations poured without permits. We've seen a 3-story, quote, garage built without permits. Now it's a carport. There is cause for concern here. And it seems, nobody seems to know they need permits for this stuff. It's hard to believe whether it's, and I'm not making any insinuations here with the petitioner. Perhaps this was an honest mistake, I don't know. But, and everybody, claims, we didn't know. Joe, I have a question for you. Now, if you're caught doing construction at your home without permits, it's fees double, correct?
Actually tripled.
Triple, okay. So what's the status for a variance? If it's there and you're applying, is there any kind of penalty, if you will, on a situation like this?
Typically, the steps that have been taken are to look to have the project, I guess, brought into compliance with both building code and zoning code, and any applicable health codes. Whether that might be applying for variance, it's typically a stop work at that point, while any petitioner has to go through a variance process.
So we have a situation here where if you're caught building plumbing or electrical without permits, your fees triple, and that's justifiable. But here, if you're caught, which I think is more serious, infraction of a variance, nothing happens. You get a stop work order, you come in front of the board, and that needs a change. I know we can't make any changes here this evening, but that's something I think we need to look at in the very near future, what the penalty should be if, this, in a situation like this. But back to the petition matter at hand here, that, I did go by the property today, and, there was a few vehicles in the driveway, I think 3 or 4. This was around 2 o'clock this afternoon, so I don't know what it might be 8 o'clock at night. But, I do have the same concerns, my fellow board members, that, this stuff seems to be happening a lot. You claim you bought this out of a company in North Carolina, correct?
Yes.
That's where you purchased it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, who did the installation? I'd like to know.
TNT Carports,
Okay, and where are they based? Are they Lowell, or?
North Carolina.
They're based in North Carolina, they did the installation.
Well, according to their receipt, yes. We didn't build the carport,
Okay, all right.
so it would. I don't know where he. You know where you got?
Route 110.
They were at Route 110. I think he drove by and.
Okay, well, in this case, the driveway goes all the way up to the side of the property anyway, to the end. So basically, there would be vehicles there anyway. But, one thing that bodes well in your favor is that your direct abutter at 34 Chippewa is not here in opposition. If they were, I'd have trouble supporting you. But I'm on a fence on this one. I'd like to see what the remaining board members have to say, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Corey. Van?
In this kind of petition, Joe, have you seen other petitioners go back to the manufacturing company and talk with them to make sure they can maybe come back and redo some of the work or anything like that? Has that ever been done before?
I haven't really seen any of those types of actions take place. I know, particularly the carports, it has been an issue in the city. It's been actually a company out of North Carolina, I didn't know what the name of the company was, telling individuals that they could have a carport at their yard, there's no permits needed, and so forth. So they have appeared throughout the city, a number of locations, and sometimes they create zoning issues and sometimes they do not. In this case, it was one that did.
Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Well, I guess after hearing everything, I don't think I'm ready to vote on it tonight. I have a few items that, we've had carports come before this board in the past. I can't say I've ever seen a carport the size of the one you have in your driveway, sir, that we've entertained with this board. So, Joe, question to you. So it was identified the structure was up, and this gentleman came in and applied for a building permit?
A building inspector originally went by, noticed the structure getting put up, and informed them that you do need a building permit to install one of these types of devices or one of these carports, at which point they came in for a building permit. When that application was getting reviewed, it was found that it did trigger a zoning violation.
Right. But correct me if I'm wrong, generally if you're going to have a building permit pulled, it's usually pulled by the contractor or person performing the work. Is that true?
It depends. Sometimes for single and two families, the homeowner can pull it if they're doing the work themselves, or if they wanted to waive any kind of insurance or something like that for a contractor. You might see that happen where the homeowner comes in and pull the permit themselves.
Yeah, but I would say the rule
Most
generally
often
you got a
is
contractor.
contractor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So has this gentleman ever asked about who put up the structure? In other words, whoever put it up, why wouldn't we request them to come in?
They're not the homeowner, though.
I'm sorry?
They're not the homeowner of the property. They're not the owner of the property. They could have represented the property owner, but as far as I know, I've never spoken to the contractor.
Oh, I know. So if this ever comes up in the future, I can't go out and have the contractor to put it in, I can't go out and have him come in for the pull the permit that he should have pulled?
You
I have to
could.
do it myself?
You could, it would be most likely, I'm guessing, part of your private negotiation with that contractor, that they could do that.
Okay. So I think that's one problem. I mean, the structure's up. There's gray area around, as Dennis was saying, there's always seems to be gray area with these carports. How was that carport installed? How is it secured to the ground?
I believe it's bolted to the,
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me.
yeah, bolted to the concrete.
Okay. So when DPD gave us their comments, they also mentioned a couple of things. One had to do with the fire department and getting approval from the fire department in regards to the structure, the carport structure, as it ties in with the main building. And so I'd like to see, this is where I'd like to go with this. Since the structure's already up, I'd like to have the fire department go in there and take a look through the site and see if there's any issues around fire safety. There's a couple of different things that are mentioned here. The second thing is it has to do with the actual integrity of the structure. And DPD talks about the Mass Building Code. So Joe, could we have inspectional services go in there and do their inspection over the integrity of the structure?
Yeah, we could have a building inspector go over and look at that. Yep.
Okay. So that's what I would like to see, just because of the size of the structure here. If we're going to start talking about taking the structure down, moving it, I think there's a few other things I'd like to have investigated first before we move that way. Any comments from the members on that?
I just have one additional request, that we have the building department assess the structural integrity of the concrete slab in regards to supporting the structure.
Okay, that sounds fair enough to me. Any other comments? Okay.
Joe, what's our first meeting scheduled in September?
It's for September 10th.
When's the next meeting?
September 10th.
September 10th.
Okay. You think that gives us, does that give the city enough time, 2 weeks to perform this? Or?
I think it should. Yes, I think it would be enough time.
Okay. Okay, any other comments before I move on this? Hearing none, I'd like a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, EB 2012-33 at 30 Chippewa Street, to install a new carport that does not meet rear or side setback. I make a motion to approve a continuance to the September 10th, 2012 meeting.
So before I ask for a second, Joe, do we need any conditions for the continuance, or are we all set? Okay. Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Continue to September 10th.
Mr. Belanger?
Continue.
Mr. Ahern?
Continue.
Mr. Perrin?
Continue.
Mr. McCarthy?
Continue.
Okay, sir. So the matter's been continued to September 10th, so we'd like you to come back here on September 10th. We're going to have the city perform a couple of things. And just to let the public know, there'll be no public notice on the meeting for September 10th for this continuance. Good evening, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, our next matter before us is ZB 2012-34. The petition is a special permit, variance, signs. The applicant is Sinorama. The property is located at 211 Plain Street. The petition is to install new internally illuminated signage for the children's place, including a projecting sign that does not meet height requirements pursuant to Section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Is there a representative of Sinorama? Yes, sir. Good evening. How are you?
Yeah, Joe DeRusa from Saga Sinorama.
Okay, good evening. Would you like to tell us about the petition, sir?
Sure. We were hired by the Children's Place to install signage at their new location. We were granted a permit for a 6x12 box sign to be installed. However, it could not be internally lit. So we did hang the box, and now we are looking for relief to illuminate it. Also, we wanted to install a roughly an 18 by 36 inch blade sign, a walkway sign. That would be non-illuminated, and that would be in the walkway overhead. There's already some existing signage. Marshall's has existing signage there, which measures roughly about 15 inches in height.
Okay. Have you had any discussions with the Department of Planning and Development in regards to their comments?
I read the memorandum dated on August 22nd. Like I said, the only thing is if we could get any more relief than the 9 inches that they recommended. You know, we had an 18-inch sign going there.
Okay. And if you can't get the relief, what does that mean to the sign, sir?
You know, whatever the board agrees to, we'll put up. You know, I mean, they're trying to get the most exposure they can.
Yep.
Especially being a new business coming into the area here.
Yeah, we've already entertained
Yeah.
a couple of petitions in regards to that plaza. So anything else you'd like to add, sir?
That's it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here would like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, opposition. Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. I'd like to open it up to the board. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to understand where on the site and the walkway is this blade sign going? It doesn't really locate it as far as how it fits with the entrance and the columns.
Right. It would probably position it in the center of the walkway and probably in the center of the doorway opening.
And so it's going to be hanging below the transom element in the center of the doorway? Is that correct?
It would be,
The transom element looks like it's, the head of it's probably around 10 feet maybe?
right, right. It would hang just below, a little below the transom window, but not towards the door. It'd still have that clearance that we talked about, the A10, if we ended up going with the 18-inch. You know, what Planning and Development recommended was go to the 9-inch, and that's a 9/6 then minimum clearance.
Okay, and the reason for going to 18 is because of lighting in the sign, is that right?
No, we won't light that sign at all, just for better exposure, that's all. And, you know, originally when we did the site survey, the Marshall sign that was there was already at like 15 inches. It hangs. And it's at the same walkway height, the total walkway.
Okay, and so you're really trying to direct people that are on the walkway, maybe coming from another store, and how to find the store?
Exactly. You know, that plaza, you know, you cannot see the signage above if you're walking under the overhead.
No, I understand, it makes sense.
So,
Yep,
and if you're, that's a fairly long walkway too. So if you're at one end of the plaza, it's difficult to see most of that signage, you know. So, whole idea is to get that
yep, yep.
visible. And, you know, like I forget what the letter height is here off the top of my head, but,
Looks like you have 7 inches for the P, yep. And
Yeah,
2¼ for the children's.
let's see here. Those look like, yeah, they're gonna, that letter's there, if we drop it to 9-inch, the letters will probably be in the 6-inch range. You'd probably see that from about maybe 400 feet away at the most.
I guess I just don't, there's not much distracting you in that walkway for storefronts. As far as you're walking down there, you see a logo of any type, you don't even have to read it because you know where it is. All you're looking for is something that you recognize as you drove up, you know.
Sure.
So the fact that you have to read it, I don't think is all that critical because there's nothing else distracting you on that walkway thing. So I'm thinking that your placement of it at the doorway, there's been a lot of nice things done over in that plaza. You know,
Yes,
the brick columns, the nice new facades there, the signage looks good. And I think we want to continue it, and I think that you're making a mistake by having that blade hang down and distract you at that door. It looks a little menacing, to tell the truth, when you have it kind of right over the door that low. I think it should be higher. I think I decide, I'm on the fence here with having it at all, but I think if you're going to have it because of that walkway traffic, which I grant, I think you will get some, especially coming from Marshall's side.
Sure.
Recognizing the logo is all you need. You don't even need to read it. I think that, because nothing else there, really. Just a blue logo would be enough, I think. So I'd make it smaller if I could. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, Dennis, Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple questions. I have no problem with the illuminated sign, I guess, for starters. I don't, it doesn't sound like Dennis or DPD did as well, from what I've seen. Looking at your drawing, though, it looks like you're gonna wrap an existing column to hang the structure? Is that correct?
Which photo are you looking at there?
Or is that coming off a wall?
Oh, no, yeah.
Okay, so it's reversed, or? Okay, it's just a reverse of the other drawing.
Right.
So you're anchoring to the wall, but you have an 1.5-inch gap between the hanging structure and the top of the sign? Is that something that could be flush mounted to the?
Well, yeah, that's what we were planning on doing now, is flush mounting it.
Okay. So that 19.5 really cuts down to 18 inches?
Correct.
Okay. Because there's a discrepancy. Looking at what DPD had given as far as measurements and yours, the mathematics didn't seem to work out, and maybe that's why. Maybe it's that 1.5 inches.
Yeah, yeah, I see where you're getting confused. With the southwest, where they developed that spec drawing, they were showing that off the side of the walkway, but we're gonna just surface mount it right on
Okay.
the ceiling of the walkway. So that 1.5 inches is gone.
Okay. I mean, I guess other than that, the 18 inches does look obtrusive when you look at the pictorial that we were giving.
Sure.
9 inches seems a little tight, honestly, if I'm looking at a sheet of paper and the lettering and things that you want to get on there, but I'm sure there's a happy medium, for at least for me, in the 12, 13-inch range that maybe everybody can live with keeping that headroom, just so I know it's 8'10", but even 8'10", when you're walking through it, sometimes you feel like you got to duck down just from the size of that coming down from the roof. So that's what I'd prefer to see in that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Gary?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
Corey?
Three, Mr. Chairman. For starters, I think this is great. The Children's Place, how many stores throughout the country do they have, sir?
How many are in the mall right now?
How many stores approximately, yes?
I'm going to say I was just by there again tonight, and I'm going to say there's at least 8 stores going in. There's
Okay.
a lot of new ones going in.
It seems to be a nice growing chain, so to
Yes.
speak. I was up in Kittery Outlet, so I seen one there, so,
Oh, you're asking how many Children's Place are there in
Yes,
the
yes.
area? Oh, they're trying to put one right now in pretty much all the major malls, so.
excellent, excellent. Well, that's great. I'm always pleased to see when a national chain wants to come to Lowell, I always try and be as accommodating as possible. But the illuminated sign on the front of the building, I have no problem with, but I think, I echo the same comments as my colleagues that, the height of the sign over the door, I think it's almost reachable, so I'd like to see it cut down from 18 to 12 inches, and I wouldn't have a problem with it. And if it does get approved, I wish you the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Van?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so I've heard further comments from the board members, so as far as the height of the sign, what's the wish of the board? I know,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to see, personally, I'd like to see a condition of the overhead sign over the door reduced to 12 inches in height, but I'm only one vote.
Mr.
Dennis.
Chairman,
Dennis, did you have a comment on the height originally?
Yeah, there was made mention that the Marshall sign has, I think, already established a dimension. I think 15 inches is what you had
15
mentioned.
inches, yes.
I would suggest that we don't go no larger than that and use that almost as a standard for if we're going to have something that's consistent, it'd be nice not to go, larger. It'd be nice to maybe make that the maximum, no larger than 15 inches.
Okay. Are there any other comments from the board members?
Hours of illumination, sir?
I don't know what the mall,
Okay, I don't think it's an
Hours
issue.
up.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
There's no residential to speak of. I don't think it's an issue, but okay. No
they
problem.
haven't put the time clocks in yet.
Yeah.
The final hookup, so.
Okay.
Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, a matter before us, ZB 2012-34 for special permit at 211 Plain Street. Make a motion to approve with the following conditions. For the sign not to exceed 15 inches, the overhead sign.
I'll second it.
Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with condition.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Ahern?
approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved with conditions?
Okay, that motion's been approved. I have a second motion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, in the matter before the committee, ZB 2012-34, 2012, at 211 Plain Street. Make a motion to approve the variance to install internally illuminated sign, including a projected sign not meeting height requirements.
I'll second the motion.
Have a roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved?
Okay, sir, you've been approved. Wish you the best of luck with your plans.
Thank you very much for all your time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Joe, right? Yeah, nice meeting you. Thanks for all your time. And I'll get something in the mail, right? Thank you.
Next petition before us is ZB 2012-35. It's a special permit. The applicant is the Highline Group, Inc. Property is located at 1184 Westford Street, and the petition to retrofit an existing commercial office building into an outdoor auto sales lot and office pursuant to Section 11.3 and Article 12, Table of Uses. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow members of the board. My name is Attorney Brian Occasion from the law offices of Kevin J. Murphy, and I'm representing the Highline Group, Inc., and with me tonight is its president, Charles Fotopoulos. And we're here for a special permit under Article 12 of the Table of Uses, specifically 12.6, subsection B, and it's for a used car outdoor license. The property at 1184 Westford Street is in between the Highline Group, Inc.'s store at 1150 Westford Street, which has a permit for 270 spaces, and Drum Hill Ford, which is to the right, which is a long-standing used car, or new and used car dealership in the city. We believe that this project meets the criteria of a special permit. Right now, the Highline Group, I know you guys have all driven by there, they have high-end automobiles, BMWs, Audis, Mercedes, etc. And what the Highline Group, Inc. is planning on doing with this lot at 1184 is to have a more affordable option for the residents of the city of Lowell to purchase used vehicles. And that is why they would like to have this dealership there, and I think it would be in harmony with the neighborhood character. This is an RR zone, and Westford Street is one of the preeminent business districts, commercial districts in the city. And I think instead of having a vacant lot and a building that doesn't look too good, by putting a used car dealership there, improving the building and improving the lot, it would definitely add to the character of the community. And I think it will meet the social and economic goals of the city, providing more jobs for its residents. Likely, if they improve the property, the assessment of that property will increase, thus increasing the tax base. The traffic flow, in addressing the traffic flow, that I don't think would be a major issue. Westford Street's a main road, and with just, according to our plan, approximately 80 spaces, that would be a minimal impact on the traffic. The utilities in that area of the city are adequate for this type of business. Once again, the neighborhood character, it's a commercial area right in front of 1184 Westford Street, and once again in between two other car dealerships. The impacts on the natural environment, I think, would be minimal. Mr. Fotopoulos is well-versed in the care of motor vehicles. He's owned a lot, used car lots throughout the city, and to have a business that has a lot with 270 spaces and the need for more spaces shows that he's, runs a nice, clean company, and the impacts on the natural environment would be minimal. We received the memo from Mr. Jinowitz relative to some concerns that developmental services had relative to the project. The first one was the parking layout that was provided in the plan. And you'll notice as you drive through the city of Lowell, most car dealerships, the vast majority of them, are not lined with spaces. Mr. Fotopoulos' lot next door is not lined. The only lines are for customer parking, which in this case, as you see right in front of the building, there are line spaces, and that would be lined. But the rest of the lines on the plan are more just so we could assess how many vehicles would be able to be placed on this lot. So hopefully that would address the lining. Relative to the pavement, our plan would be to patch that pavement. You'll see that they've done a really nice job at 1150 Westwood Street, and they want to continue that over until 1184. And in reviewing the lot, it looks like patching could adequately take care of any disrepair that lot is in. Additionally, with the landscaping, I mean, there's not much room for landscaping on that property right now, but anything we could do to work with DPD to improve what's there. I mean, really, there's just an in and out. And the goal of Mr. Fotopoulos in getting this license would be to have all the cars funnel through 1150 Westwood Street to actually come into the main lot where their current dealership is, and then take a right and come over to where this building is proposed, instead of using the entrance that's right out in front of his building. And in fact, if you're coming from the Drum Hill area and coming down Westwood Street, right there, it kind of goes from 1 lane to 2 lanes, as if you were going to take a right, and it gets kind of congested right there. So there's actually 2 lanes. The beginning of the 2 lanes happens in front of 1150 Westwood Street. So that would really where most of the cars would be funneling in and out of to go to 1184 Westwood Street. So I hope that would address some of the concerns about, the gas gate and such.
Mr. Cajun?
Yes.
Can I just interrupt you for a minute? I just want to make sure I'm clear on what you just said. So at 1184,
Yep.
you can currently enter that lot. It's pretty much kind of an open area, isn't it?
Exactly, yes.
So are you saying you're not going to have any egress
Well,
into the area? Or
No, there would be egress and egress, but I guess his intent would be to have the cars come in through 1150, if at all possible. That's where he would direct cars to come into.
He wants to use the current opening?
Opening, just to come in, because it's just more convenient for everyone. It's just more room with the way the Westwood Street traffic is.
There's no signage there right now that indicates where to enter the facility, right? It's pretty much, I'll say it this way, I don't mean it this way, but it's pretty much blocked off with cars. There's only one way to get in there.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. And that's, what they would hopefully continue to do.
But there's no signage saying enter here?
No. There's just the one big illuminated sign that they have, but, that we just thought may address some of the concerns that the developmental services had with cars entering and exiting. But like I said, we were hoping to avoid having to stripe that lot, as most car dealers don't, because they typically, and I drive by there every day to and from work, they rearrange their cars very often in that lot just to give it a different look, depending on what cars they're showcasing and such. And I think they would intend to do that in this lot too. But they would be inclined to stripe the lots for customer parking in front of the building. And I think that is most of the issues that developmental services raised. And we'd be happy to answer any other questions.
So just to continue on my thought there, so
Yeah.
if I was going to be a customer at the new building,
Yeah.
I'm going to enter the existing lot, drive all the way around and pull in?
Yeah, but it's really, when you look at it, it's almost one big lot, but that's what you would do is come in to the right where the high-end vehicles would be, and then more of the affordable vehicles would be over on the right in front of this building, and depending on what type of vehicle you were looking for.
And you're going to open up, I guess I'll call it an entranceway between the two sites.
Right, and there typically is, that's the way it's been.
Because you have vehicles going up and down that whole lot right now.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else you'd like to add at this point?
That's it for right now. We'll be happy to address any questions you have.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public first. Is anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one thing, I wanted to let you know that Mr. Fotopoulos has consulted with all the neighbors, Drum Hill Ford, Trinity Ambulance, Heritage Properties, et cetera, the properties that surround him, just to address any concerns they had.
Great, thank you. Okay, going to open up to the board. Dennis.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple concerns here, but I first want to understand the building is a vacant building today, is that correct?
Yes.
And so we'd be taking a vacant building and relatively vacant property and turning it into something usable that's consistent with what two neighbors do, so it makes a lot of sense.
Correct.
I think it really makes a lot of sense.
Right, like, I know for a while I was getgetting my copies there. They had a copy center
That's
inside
right.
there, and it
Didn't
just
make-
wasn't practical,
No,
so.
it doesn't make sense. The building itself is going to be a sales room, sales floor? Is that what you're going to use the building itself for? Correct. So you're going to have that staff there as well?
And under, pursuant to Mass General laws, for a used car license, you have to have an office on the premises. And I know in some cases with Mr. Fotopoulos before, they suggested having a trailer on the property, et cetera. He doesn't want to do that. He wants to fix up that office and make that a permanent office in good condition to run this business, so he would have people there.
But unfortunately, the building itself seems like it's really crowding the street, unlike the building that you're in, that has a nice, presence set back and you have plenty of room to go up to it. You're really crowding the street a lot with that building. So that whole condition of the customer parking in that relatively tight space between the property line, roughly 35, 40 feet, maybe, certainly not more than 40, but something close to 35 maybe. And there's nothing, no opportunity to improve the site. We're always looking for improvements. I mean, like Drum Hill Ford and your facility has a fair amount of bark mulch and greenscape that kind of softens that whole street edge, which when you're driving by there, that's important because everything else is hardscape behind it. So I didn't see a landscape plan submitted, and I understand you started by saying that there isn't a lot of opportunity for landscaping, but if landscaping is thought about at all, I think it would be great for that location to have it on the street edge for presentation so that that whole area is softened a bit. I don't know how that works with your customer parking though, because you're already compressed.
Yeah, you can sit on the
Yeah.
It's about 30 feet on front, so there's really not much room for an island.
I know
or
that.
some landscape.
I know that.
There is some landscape on the side, which we'll be doing, addressing, cleaning up, and, doing some stuff over there.
Just procedurally, if I can have the gentleman introduce who he is, and then if he's answering any
Charlie
questions.
Fotopoulos, president of the Highline Group, I'm sorry.
Okay, and anytime you address the board, I need to have you come to the podium, that way
Okay.
the
So everybody can
thousands
hear.
of people that are watching tonight will know it's not a fake voice in the background.
Sure.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. I'm sorry.
The group that's going to be occupying that, are they part of the Highline Group?
Yes, it's us.
So it's going to be one and the same as far
Correct.
as, but it's just going to be a different kind of aspect of your sales. It's going to be a little slightly different, so you're going to have something else going on there that makes it reasonable to have a separate sales office.
See what's happening, people driving by, and they're a little intimidated by, the high-end cars. So we want to kind of build for the city, basically, people driving by, we have a car for everyone, meaning $5,000, $6,000 to $12,000. That's what we're actually looking to target. And I think that spot will be a great spot to do that.
I mean,
I
if
have a
they
lot of
were-
people coming in, I'm sorry, Dennis, excuse me. A lot of people coming in and, they're saying, okay, well, you don't have a car for us. And we, driving by, if they see that stuff up front, it's kind of hard to put the high-end cars out back, opposed to, and next door we'll do that if the board allows us.
I'd be interested in seeing a attempt at creating a softer street edge. Because right now, and this is our chance to try to do something, and I think it's your chance to put your best foot forward, and I think that having a appealing site is important. The cars themselves will sell themselves, I'm sure, but also it doesn't hurt to have some landscaping. Site lighting, do you know how you'd be lighting the site?
I'm sorry?
Site lighting? Do you know how you'd be lighting the site?
It's pretty much well in now, overhead lighting, there's lights there now.
Which do provide a lot of glare. It's not, I mean, it'd be nice to see some control on the lighting so that we start to create a better scenario for that street. That street definitely has a lot of light control issues. And I would love to see an opportunity here for us to begin a path to more friendly lighting systems in these areas. So I understand you want to have all your product lit so people notice it.
Yes.
I understand that.
Yes, we do.
I understand that. But I think there's still a possibility of getting the shoebox fixture that doesn't have a lot of glare for the rest of the traffic going by. Any additional signage going on?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I think we'll likely be appearing again at some point for signage, but for right now, we don't have that intention.
Okay. Well, I think it's natural that this building just becomes something that is the same as what's on either side of it, but I would love to see some landscaping buffer in the front yard there. Meaningful one, something like 5 feet wide or more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have any major concerns about it. I thought Charlie was selling cars there for years already, so maybe he was, I don't know. Just looking at the line, the parking lines that referred to from DPD, my concern was traveling around the property, but my assumption is, and based on what you were saying, Attorney Occasion, is it's more gonna be a flow-through where I'm looking at parking spaces 72 to 80 lined, but my guess is they'd probably be more open traveling over to the other
Exactly.
lot. So I guess I understand the used car and how that would flow, and I don't think you'd want that many cars in there where they're all jammed in tight, where people can't walk around and see them. So I guess I understand where you're coming from that perspective. Was any thought, and just an idea, if they are coming in from 1184 Westford Street, would there be any thought to putting the customer parking on the side of the building facing the other building, only so people can pull in a little easier? And I can't vision how you're currently parking the other
We
cars
can do
there.
that could work.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
just thinking it might open
That's
the
actually a
front.
great idea.
You might want, and Dennis can get some landscaping out front, but also I'm assuming you're gonna want cars out there so people can see them going by that are for sale
Yes.
versus cars that are coming and going. So just something to consider, although it is along the property line, I don't know how that would interfere, but where you own both pieces of property, it may be a mute issue anyway. So just some food for thought.
I think
Thank
that's a good idea.
So Kevin, just so I'm clear on your comment, if you're facing the building, you're talking on the left or the right?
If I'm facing the building, the left side, so.
Where it says grass area, existing asphalt?
Correct. So
Okay.
they could come in and kind of swing around from the 1184 entrance.
So you're asking about putting 6 spaces in there?
Right. I know the entrance is in front, but, if you start with the handicapped entrance first, I think they'd be fine.
No, you want to get rid of it.
Especially
So you're
once
talking
you
about moving the 6 in front to the side of the building?
Correct. It does seem crowded in the front of the building if you're gonna try to advertise cars and things like that out there as well.
That seems to make a lot of sense.
Okay. All right. Gary, thanks, Kevin.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. So the existing property is just going to be one contiguous sales lot with an entrance at 1184 and an entrance and an exit in the middle of the property, separated by a line of cars coming from the rear of the newer building that you're
Right.
proposing and moving backwards. So you'll have your own flow through, and staff and customers will, I think the motion or the proposal by my colleague to move those 6 spots to the siders is a good one. I've been on the site. It's very easily traveled. It's a very well-maintained piece of property. I know a few years back, Highline did put another structure on the building, which is very well-maintained. The property is, it's very clean. Everyone there is very professional. Been there for a number of years, and I think that anytime an existing business owner decides to stay within the city limits and enhance his property, and, you know, put another building on the tax rolls is always something that's welcomed by this committee member. You did mention additional staff will be brought online, so he'll be employing more people. I support it. You know, I did have a raised eyebrows about striping the entire parking lot. Those were the comments that kind of seemed to me to kind of put someone, pigeonhole the business owner into having to keep those there. And part of car sales is moving, you're moving your selection of product as the seasons go by, to appease not only the customers, but the sales itself. So I fully understand that. As far as the rear of the parking lot, there's no changes to that. I think it's a blue building, if I will. There's not going to be any changes to that blue building coming around to where your garage is going. So I support the motion. I think that this business owner has shown us due diligence over the course of time. It's been a good property for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. For starters, I was on the board quite a few years ago, Councilor, when we approved Mr. Fatalis' move, and he certainly did not let this board down. He's done an outstanding job at that location. And I recall I lived nearby the condition of this property prior to his ownership, and it was deplorable. And I see no reason why he won't do the same at this location, which has been neglected for many years as well. So regarding, we have, you know, a few issues from DPD regarding, you know, drainage, which I don't think needs to be addressed whatsoever with the nature of the business. I think Kevin Ahern had some great input with putting vehicles in front of the building and parking, customer parking to the side. I think that adds to it. And Dennis had a few comments regarding landscaping. And what I think is a good resolution there is when you come in from signage, maybe we can put some flower beds underneath the sign and a berm all around the sign, and create a little landscaping issue there, because I know your client's up against it. He's only got about 30 feet of frontage, and, you know, the money he's paying, he needs a vehicle or two out there rather than landscaping. I understand wholeheartedly there. And what he's, you know, he's a businessman. What he's trying to achieve, I think, is great, to help appeal to the city, to the lower-income residents in the city for more affordable vehicles. I think it'll make them a whole one-stop shopping, so to speak, for vehicles in the city. I think it's great. I support the petition wholeheartedly. I think it's great. He's done a great job there, so I wish you the best if this is approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Corey. Van?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I just wanted to say thank you, because that part of the section, it's been really empty and vacant, so I'm always amazed when people, you know, have business in the city and continue to expand the business. And, you know, you're reaching out to other clienteles who are, you know, low income. So I think that's, for affordable cars, that's something commendable. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Van. Okay, I guess I have just, call it a few things. You mentioned about patching the area. Now, when I took a ride by there, out back, you have some pretty, I'll call them large craters back there. And I think the city even talking about drainage on that area and how the lot is kind of shaped. Can you explain again? I think you mentioned it, Mr. Cajun, but can you just explain what exactly you're going to do with that surface at 1184?
I think anywhere where there's craters, the plan was to fill them and patch them so there wouldn't be that collection of water.
Correct.
And you can.
Correct. And there's a drain. There is a drain there in the middle of the parking lot. So there's some broken up areas that we would,
Right.
you know, take care of.
So you're going to try to even it off, flatten it out as best as
Correct.
possible, because I
Correct.
know if I look at your other establishment, it's pretty level and looks pretty.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't sure if you were going to go in there and just totally gut the thing out and go in new, but obviously you're not. You're going to try to do the best
Not at this
best you
time.
can.
Right, not at this time. you
Because
know.
I don't understand how you could have cars in there, and
Right.
I guess that wouldn't show. So I want that as a, we'll put that as a condition if that's That's, you mentioned it up front anyways, but I just want to
We're
make
going
sure.
to patch the,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. On the, when you enter the facility on the right-hand side, there's a lot of uncut, I'll call it brush. And do you plan on doing with anything on that right-hand side? I guess the borders the Ford
I have Lisa
dealership.
Landscape and be there tomorrow morning, 8:30. They'll
Okay.
actually take care of all that. They're
Okay,
scheduled to
so-
come in tomorrow.
You're going to pretty much just cut it down? Do you
Correct.
plan on doing anything as far as landscaping on that side?
There's no plan right now, but you know, if
Okay.
we can clean it up,
Yeah.
we'll get it all cleaned
No,
up.
I mean, down the road, it might actually, it's kind of an extensive area, but,
It is a big area.
I mean, if you dress it up a little bit, I think the Ford guy kind of does that, not pushing the Ford guy. All right, that was just an observation. I went in there, if you were going to cut that down. So in regards to Kevin's recommendation to move the 6 parking spots, I just want to make sure that we're not going to put any additional cars in front of the building now. In other words, we're moving the 6 around the corner. We're not going to put cars now in front to,
Well, I would hope that we could display cars out front.
okay, so originally you didn't have it displaying cars in front. Now we're moving the parking around to the side.
Well,
I didn't,
sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
if these spots move around to the side, I think there would be a ample area to display a couple cars out front.
okay, but I thought I heard from one of the board members something about dressing it up in front. So I just want an understanding of, I heard something about some landscaping in front, dressing up the front. That's why I'm asking a question about the parking.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think you could accomplish both. There's enough room to have display
Okay,
and
so how
also,
many additional spaces are we going to do with the plans here? Because the plans don't show. We're adjusting the plans, we're moving the parking, that's great. So how many additional spots? I mean, the plans as submitted, it says, and I think Attorney Occasion mentioned this, you know, up to 80 spots, I believe is what the attorney said, which I assume you're going to stay with the 80.
Right, I mean, if we move the parking over to the side, those 6 spots to the side, perhaps we could, you know, keep 5 or 6 of those spots out front for display, not for parking. I mean, I think with the landscaping on the street, there would still be ample room to display cars, and we don't have to worry about cars backing up and not backing up, you know, to get in and out in emergencies, because they're gonna be display vehicles. So I guess, you know, instead of 80 display spots and 6 customer spots, if it could be like 85 display spots and 6 customer spots, I think that would be a reasonable accommodation.
Is there any comments from any of the board members to increase it from 80 to 85?
the one thing that we did lose with that increase is grass area. So there's actually a decrease in grass area on the site now, correct? Could we
So I asked
replicate
the
the grass area in the front
But,
that we'd be losing?
no, the grass area would still remain. There would just be, the grass area is in between the building and the spots.
Darn, okay.
So I think we'd be all set.
For some reason, I thought that the spaces that were going up against the building were going to be...
No, they were budding the grass, actually.
Sorry, that's right, you're right. Sorry.
Okay. And again, on the plan submitted, Mr. Occasion, where it says existing opening, there's not going to be existing, we're not going to have, those openings aren't going to be there, is that what we're saying again?
That's not our plan, is to have any openings there. I mean,
Okay.
it goes right out onto the street, so we're not planning on putting up a barricade in between, but that's, the intent is not to use that as an egress and ingress.
So I guess, now I got to ask another question, if we're going to do that, because I assumed the existing opening meant you were going to keep it as existing opening. Joe's, do we need, I don't know if this is needed, do we need the fire department to have any kind of feedback if you're,
We can keep it as an
if you're blocking that off in front, and if the fire trucks are going to have to come up and around? I'm just asking, I don't know if this is going to happen. Do they need to review the plans because of access to that building if in the event it was an issue?
That could be a condition if the board wanted to put on there that the fire
So
department.
I'd like to
review
have that conditioned. Again, I thought you were going to keep the existing openings.
I mean, we
didn't-
can keep them. It's just, I mean, I don't think you were planning on blocking off these.
No, but if we do move the cars on the side, the problem we're gonna have is people are gonna be pulling in and trying to squeeze in between a couple of cars. That's the problem. If we keep it, if we have the front of it clear, that wouldn't be an issue. But if we do move them to the side and have everybody come in from the 1150 Westford Street, you know, that wouldn't be a problem at all. Even the fire department comes through there, there'd be plenty of room for them to do whatever they like. You know, any tow trucks, any of that, in that manner.
Yeah, because, again, if you come in from your existing property, looking at the plans, the parking spots 72 through 80 seem to run almost the full gamut of that property line, I guess I'll call it. It's almost as though you're gonna have the accessibility at the end of the lot. That's the way it looks on the plans. Is that what the plan's really going to be, or are you gonna have an opening more or less in the middle? Which means you move your spots further down and back, and you have an opening more centered, if you know what I'm trying to get to.
Exactly. That would be the plan.
Okay, so I guess, I'm not trying to beat this to death, but it looks like that's not the way it's presented, so I just want to make sure we know exactly what we're voting on. So we're gonna, you know, this would be subject to the plans being resubmitted, readjusted. So if we can have the opening somewhere in the middle, I think you can still keep your spots.
Okay.
From 72 through 80, what's that, 9 spots? You're just gonna have to readjust it. And maybe that'll satisfy my question about the fire department. That's my only concern
Absolutely.
about
Yeah, absolutely.
no access. All right. Okay. So we're gonna have striping only where the new customers' spots are, is that correct? Where we move the customer spots, we're still gonna keep the striping, which was a comment. I don't think you have an issue with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's the plan.
That's okay, right?
That's,
So that'll be a condition. The landscaping, I know Dennis mentioned the landscaping. I'd like to condition that too. I think we know exactly what we're doing on the landscaping. The patching, I already mentioned. And, okay, does anybody else have any other comments or anything that they think I've missed? Or I think this is a great plan. First of all, I believe you meet the conditions around the special permit. Obviously, I know Corey talked about this, existing business. How many years you been there in total now?
9 years.
9 years.
In business,
Okay.
23 in the city.
Yep. And, you know, not that I've ever bought a car there, but I go by there and I'm always amazed how many cars you actually have there and the styles that you have. Maybe someday I'll be in there, but,
I can see your nice BMW, Mr. Chairman.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
gotta get the city manager to give you a
I'm
raise.
not even gonna make a comment on that one. But obviously, you know, you're getting, it's a growing business, it's great. I just assume somebody come in next door, occupy that space, you know, I don't think we like to see any empty spaces. I think the attorney mentioned about that whole strip there. It'd be nice to have that filled up. And I think it's just, again, you're gonna offer, you know, hopefully some employment for people. You're gonna occupy an unoccupied space, get some tax dollars out of that. It already blends with the character of the neighborhood, so I believe you meet pretty much all the conditions that the special permit asks for. So before I ask for a motion, no comments, anything else from anybody? Okay, hearing none.
Actually works out better if we do it right here, on the side.
Right.
Because of the parking down. Right. Okay.
And especially if they come in here, then you don't have your
Right.
much easier to buy a car than do these. Okay, if I have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, in the matter before us, ZB 2012-30.
I knew there was 6. He's getting rid of those. What I'm talking about is I want a fire department review because they're really gonna be coming in from behind. They're not giving the egress.
Okay, through you, Mr. Chairman, in the matter before us, ZB 2012-35 at 1184 Westford Street for a special permit. I make a motion to approve with the following conditions. Condition 1, patch broken asphalt in existing site to meet the drainage requirement. Second, move the customer parking to the left-hand side of the building and provide striping. 4, to resubmit new plans to include an increase of show spots from 80 to 85 to include an open area for parking. 5, increase soft landscape in the front of the property. 6, have the Lowell Fire Department review the property entrance site.
Any other comments before I go for a second? Hearing none, have a second.
Second the motion?
A roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Approved with conditions.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve with condition.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve with conditions?
Okay, to any occasion you've been approved with conditions, wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, next matter before us is ZB 2012-36. This is a petitions for a variance. The applicant is Sokolak, and this is at 30 Edson Street. Petition is to convert a 2-unit dwelling to a 3-unit dwelling without the required lot area per dwelling unit or usable open space pursuant to Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Arthur Sullivan. I represent the petitioners, and we would like to withdraw the petition without prejudice.
Okay, sir. And we did receive some communication in regards to withdrawal, and it's accepted by this board, and we'll just vote on it, sir. Okay?
Fine.
Thank you. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, ZBA 2012-36 at 30 Edson Street. I make a motion to approve without prejudice the petition.
Can I have a second?
Second the motion?
Can I have a roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approve.
Approve the withdrawal? I'm sorry. Approve the withdrawal?
Yes, approve the withdrawal.
Okay. Mr. Belanger?
Withdraw.
Mr. Ahern?
Approve the withdrawal.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve the withdrawal.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approve the withdrawal?
Okay, sir. It's been approved. Thank you very much. Okay, our next order of business is the minutes of August 13th, 2012. Are there any comments in regards to the minutes? Hearing none, I'd like to have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes for the meeting of August 13th.
Can I have a second?
Second motion.
Roll call?
Mr. Bailey?
Approve.
Mr. Belanger?
Approve.
Mr. Hearn?
Approve.
Mr. Perrin?
Approve.
Mr. McCarthy?
Approved.
Okay, last order of business will be any comments from any members of the board? Hearing none. Joe, what's next meeting?
Next meeting is on September 10th.
10th, okay. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion
Through
to
you, Mr.
adjourn.
Chairman.
Okay, so moved. Thank you.